Hey, welcome to ConCarolinas Television. I am Bronner.
I'm Ray.
I'm
David
Jason.
Bear.
And that saves the introduction part of it. So we won't have to do that again. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Jason, since you're part of our esteemed panel.
Well, thanks. I live up in the mountains. I'm 42, and I've been gaming for more than half of that. Dungeons & Dragons, Vampire the Masquerade, all kinds of tabletop role-playing games. And I went to school for religion and psychology and did counseling and all that. And now I work at a concrete place and try to game as much as I can and have a family too.
Gain as much concrete as you can?
No. Well, yeah, but it all goes into my belly.
Those are concrete mixers from Culver's.
Yeah.
All right, great big bear. What about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started playing back in teen years. Eventually moved up to running my first campaign and really loved it. So I DM. I'll be doing, when we eventually get it going, the Dondero D&D campaign. So I'll be the DM for that.
But like the live stream thing?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So it'll be fun.
That'll be fun.
Right.
Big Bear's part of the Blue Skirt Boys Network. Love those guys letting us hang out here on CCtv.
All right. So this episode, in case you haven't seen one of the billion ads that I throw down every week and that multiple people share, thank you very much, is religion and gaming. So, I mean, you could actually take a look at that from a couple of different angles. You can do it from like a moral compass kind of a thing, or like, oh, what kind of religion do you bring into your games as a GM or dungeon master or what have you. I think just because it's kind of the way it's worked its way out, we're going to go with what impact religion has had on us personally and how we incorporate it in what we do in our gaming lives. So let's just kind of go around the room right now and kind of find out where we all fall on the religious spectrum of things. I'll start off by letting everyone know I'm agnostic. I've been to church many times throughout my entire life, many different denominations, non-denominational. I've hung out with Buddhist monks. I mean, I've done a lot of different things that kind of shaped me into what I am today, because when push comes to shove, I just said, hey, who am I to say who's right, who's wrong? And I kind of just go with the flow and or go with the flow of my heart. It's always been any kind of one-on-one relationship with, a supreme being of whatever, your mind can kind of go from there. What about you, Rachel?
Well, I did grow up in a Christian household. We went to church regularly. My grandparents were Christian Scientists, not to be confused with Scientology. It's totally different. A lot less wacky.
Yeah.
But as I became more of an adult and formulating my own opinions, I did fall more into the agnostic part of it. I do believe there is a higher being, power, whatever you want to call that. But I feel it's more of a personal mental compass for me as far as, doing what I feel is good and right within the world. So that's where I land.
How about you, Bear? Where you land? Great big bear.
I went to church as a child. My mom took me. Never really sat right with me. She kind of took me just for those beginning morals, in life. She wasn't a real big believer either. I'm more Viking through and through now. I've studied a lot of different religions, tried to find something that fit and felt right to me. But for the most part, I believe, but I don't exactly practice and preach. So I am ordained, but
Sweet.
Okay.
You can marry.
You can
I
marry
can.
me.
Marry people.
Marry me.
That's awesome.
All right, Jason.
I
Where
have
do you
ideas.
come
I
from?
have ideas.
I was raised,
My DM's always open.
like you guys, raised in a Christian home, but I wasn't a believer. God saved me after my son was born. So I was in my mid-20s, and kind of fell into your typical evangelical stuff. But now I'm, I guess if you're gonna pigeonhole me out, I would say I'm a Reformed Baptist. I believe in the sola scriptura, which is scripture alone, and infallibility and all of that, and that God is sovereign and in control of everything, including me and my actions and all that. So, yeah, that's where I am.
All right.
I'm very
cool.
conservative in my religious views, but as I go out from that, I have variation too.
All right. So it sounds like we're coming at it from a couple of different angles here. So that's a good thing because fresh perspectives is kind of what it's all about.
Absolutely.
So, yes or no to everybody, does religion have an impact on how or what we game?
No.
I think so.
No? It's like, not at all.
Not at all.
All right. How about you, Ray? Does it impact you at all? Even to like the characters you play?
We have a hard yes and we have a hard no. And I'm kind of straddling that middle line. Yes, it does, but it's more in the way of, it's not something that I personally practice, but I would not feel comfortable playing a game in which it was mocked or, just negated. I just don't feel like I would approve of any type of negativity towards, whether it be people, genders, religion. That's where I would draw that line. Just because I don't feel it doesn't mean I don't respect it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good mature approach to it. Now, you had mentioned something about being like, you had a hard yes and a hard no. I mean, I already heard like a no, hard no, but who was our hard yes from?
That was
I said it.
Oh,
it
you did?
does. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you just kind of expound on that a little bit?
I think for me, as I run different games, the religion or the mythos of those games, I try to bring that to the fore, and I try to make that an active part of the world and the game that I'm running. And with things like D&D and Pathfinder, it's a little different because you're dealing with, a pantheistic type of thing, whereas Vampire is Judeo-Christian to the point that they went to the Pseudegrapha, where like you find the Book of Enoch, and they pulled lore and they pulled stuff out of that.
Who's they?
The creators of Vampire, so
Okay.
Mark Hagen, Stuart Wysick, I think is the last name. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they went back into Genesis and connected the vampire myth with Cain and Abel and all that. So I think divorcing that from the game lessens the game. So I tend to bring anything like that out to the fore.
Right.
Well, Sean mentioned in the chat that there are some people who consider themselves Care Bears, where they don't kill living things in the game that they run.
Sure.
So that's one aspect of it, kind of continuing to maintain your religious compass throughout it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a good friend of mine who wouldn't play Demon the Fallen, which is another White Wolf game, but you're playing a demon. He just wouldn't do it. That was his line for that. So yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, I mean, I understand the concept of what a lot of role-playing systems try to do, which is kind of an all-inclusive kind of thing. I've never been a big fan, like shot by God by Rolodex kind of thing. I've always been, find someone, depending on where I am in life or where I was in life, it was always someone that was good natured, unless I was playing a bad character, and that didn't happen very often. But once in a while, everyone's got to do it.
Yeah.
Some
But-
people enjoy it more than others.
But yeah, so I'm like, I just stuck to like one God that best kind of represented what I felt inside, and kind of just stuck with that. While everyone's like all over the place with their choice and their deity
or however they put that. But we got Jason's absolute yes. What about Bear's absolute no? Expand on that for me. Is it just like it doesn't matter?
No, it really honestly doesn't. I still need a preference. Like, does religion have a part in games? Yes. Does it matter to me personally? No, it doesn't. I am one of the ones that, depending on how I want to play my character, may determine if or who I choose as a deity. I don't stick to a singular one. And honestly, most time, a lot of my D&D characters are evil.
Oh.
So, but yeah, it doesn't play an impact really on me as to if I'm going to play a series or not.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand the allure of playing someone that is outside of who you are characteristically in everyday life. I mean, it's part of the fun of role playing, right? Is being able to choose someone that is going against what you believe in or what you have to be in order to conform with society. So I understand how that would impact us as players. I just, how much more does that influence a DM or a GM's, way that they construct a game? Do they have to rely on being socially responsible? Do they have to rely on their own moral compass? I have spent very little time GMing, so I will. Great Big Bear and Jason are both accomplished GMs and DMs, so I'll kind of let them answer. We'll start with you, Jason, if you will.
I think that kind of plays into like a session zero type thing, type situation, especially with like knowing people's lines and veils and what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. And I think being a responsible storyteller or DM means talking about that and respecting that. I don't think, as long as everybody's okay with pushing that, that's fine. But that's why things like consent to gaming forms and things like that, I think, are important, because it lets you know up front, this I'm okay with, this I'm not. So, depending on the game, I think it's just important to have a good session zero and talk about it.
Right. And then, in all fairness, Jason also does a lot of, introducing people into games also, whether it's at a con or at a local game store where he volunteers to run games for people so that they get to learn the systems and whatnot. So it's especially beneficial for him to get to that point where everyone has got that level of comfort, where I imagine, Bear, that you probably, a lot of friends, a lot of people that you already have that kind of understanding with.
For the most part, yes. I either play with close knit friends, family, friends of friends. Very seldom do I find random group and go, we're gonna game today. Let's do this.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot less of that that impact, I guess, like that social need for that, because you have that background a little bit. Every kind of a little bit familiar with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's totally helpful.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have no DM experience. Just don't have that level of creativity. So I can't put myself in those shoes. But do either of you find, is it the DM's responsibility to maintain that line, or is it an individual personal responsibility?
It's a bit of column A and a bit of column B. People need to be comfortable speaking up, no matter whether it's a close-knit group of friends or you're playing at a con, people need to feel empowered to say no thank you evil type thing. Like that's enough, this is the line.
That's a hard no.
Yeah, that's a hard no, you know. And also the DM or the storyteller needs to, you know, be able to rein people in if it starts going kind of sideways and being like, hey, that, you know, and it doesn't have to be anything like major. You could write a note and slide it to the player. And for, as far as anybody else knows, it's just you having a secret communication. But the note says, hey, back off from this topic. But I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
What do you think? Aaron?
I mean, so you hit it really on the head. It's, you know, everybody feeling comfortable, at least be able to know that they have a voice at the table, but that it's also, it is just a game.
Yes.
You know, this isn't serious. Like, we're not going out and burning down an actual village here.
Right.
So to give a little bit of flexibility on that, on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, but okay, so just to be a little bit of a devil's advocate, for lack of a better term at this point. But all right, so say you have a brand new player that is just joined the game, and say they come from a very strict religious background, but they decided that they were going to try their hand at some role playing, but then you're going through character creation and whatnot, and you're asking them to choose between all these deities and demigods and all this other stuff, and they're like, their point of view is, wow, how close are we getting to idolatry at that point when we're looking and we're basically choosing a god type creature to be, you know, who we choose to worship as our character or whatever. Because last time I would, you know, look through that the literature, especially for like D&D and whatnot, there was no Jesus. You know?
No,
It's not an option for some reason.
Right. So it's like, okay, so how would you handle that, Jason, specifically coming from your background and knowing that a lot of and I just participated in a small little one shot today with Jason, just so that I can get a flavor, because I had never played Vampire the Masquerade before. But so coming from that background where you are playing or you are jamming for such a notoriously dark game, how would you combat that?
Well, I think first of all, it's important, like Bear said, you're not actually burning down villages. You're not actually, I'm not actually choosing Chemosh from Dragonlance to worship. You know, I'm not. This is a character that I'm playing. This is a role that I'm playing, and knowing that is a good place to start. And knowing, you know, for example, in Vampires, like when we started today, these are monsters. You are playing a monster. You are playing somebody who is going to do things that are bad,
Questionable
at the very least, right? But you know, it's not you; it's the character that's doing this. So I think if somebody was having that much trouble, like if a player came to me and was like, "Is this idolatry?" then I'd be like, "Well, I would say no because of my convictions. But if you think it is, then maybe you shouldn't play." And leave it for them to make that decision.
Good. I mean, I think that's the appropriate answer, right? When you're dealing with, you know, like a sensitive situation, because, you know, like for instance, my Sunday night game, we've decided, the people that I'm playing with, to introduce a lot of young ones into, you know, fantasy role playing. And it's a fine line, right? Because you're, okay, you don't really have the right to say, hey, yeah, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. You're coming along for the ride. You know, if they don't have complete 100% sign off by their parents or whatnot, yeah, I would feel a little uncomfortable for having or having them join the game. at that point. So I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I would kind of be like, yeah, let's get a permission slip
Yeah,
from your parents.
like we're gonna go kill these
Or,
kobolds for their candles,
know,
and that's it.
can you can you get them on the phone? I mean, it's weird, but
I think
It
the running
happens.
theme here, honestly, though, through all gamers, is that all of you guys have started young.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a place where a lot of people begin their journey. As
Mhm.
far as this is where you're learning and growing into an adult.
Mhm.
And so I think it is a responsibility of a DM who is generally either older or more mature. They're running the game, to realize that you have young impressionable minds that are playing with you.
Yeah.
And you have to give them those options, because if they don't know it's an option, then I think I dropped, but I'm probably still on audio.
yeah, you're on.
I am still on audio. So, but as long as they know that it is an option,
Mhm.
They're able to choose for themselves.
And my grandmother was one of the ones who was like, oh, he shouldn't be playing this or he shouldn't be playing that.
Yeah.
And my mom, thank God, was like, look, he's rolling dice and reading. He could be out doing drugs. This is fine.
It could always be worse.
It could,
Yeah,
it could always be worse.
Yeah.
So she, thankfully, my
You could
mom,
be in a gang.
yeah, but my mom was sensible, and she knew that I knew the difference between fantasy and reality. And
Right.
frankly, as I got into my teen years and my grandfather died, if I hadn't had something like Vampire to kind of channel that into, I don't know where I would have ended up. I would have been in a dark place.
So it's therapeutic.
Absolutely.
That's a good thing.
Very
Absolutely.
much so.
In fact, you were saying that you went to school for some psychology
Mhm.
stuff. We talked before, and you had said, something about your thesis or something.
Yeah.
What was that on again?
I wrote about using tabletop role playing games, specifically darker ones like Vampire, in counseling sessions to because Vampire has this humanity mechanic, which is like you're trying to hold on to who you are, but it has this beast mechanic that's tempting you and trying to get you to do things that are morally repugnant.
Sounds like life.
Yeah, right. And so you show people. I put people in the situations in a game because it's safe, and they work through it and they're able to process it in the game, and then taking them out and going, "You did it here, do it here. Apply this here." And that was really it was a cool paper. It was a cool paper. But yeah, I wouldn't have gotten through some stuff in my teen years had I not had something to kind of channel that into.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Big Bear, I want to ask you specifically this question that the chat has posed to us, because you do seem to be kind of more open. Nothing's really off limits for you. But is there something that is a hard no for you as a player?
So we're trying to ask, he has two really good questions there, as a DM and as a player. I mean, if as a DM, I'm gonna read the room. If something happens and everybody's shuffling and going, yeah, okay, we might be hitting that line where it's like you need to
Reel
cool
it
it
back
off a
in.
little.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I let everybody play open world for me. If they want to go in opposite direction of the campaign that I had set, all right, I'm making it up as I go along tonight, I guess. And with that, it's stuff happens that I may not be exactly 100% prepared for, and it has happened. But I'll let them try. I'll let them do just about anything they want to do. It's open world. It's their character. They're going to play it how they want. Is there going to be consequences in the game from anything they do? Absolutely.
Yep.
Can their characters end up in jail or prison? You bet it.
Absolutely.
If they want their character. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's consequences and rewards for everything that happens in the game. So
Right. All right. So growing up, I had a mom, a single parent that was really, pretty much worked all the time, really loosey goosey about what I do and who I do it with, kind of thing, which made me the person I am today. Thank you very much.
Yay.
But the thing is that I mean, she would like selectively become like a moral Nazi, which is a bad word because you know I don't know, but everyone knows.
Well, we might have had the same
But-
mom because I'm in the boat with you.
But you know, like so, like I was celebrating Christmas, and then the next year it was Hanukkah. I mean, she was confused as anybody can be. But
she was making it up as she went.
Right. But
She was a great DM.
She was a great DM.
my thing is that I would have this job and make all this money and buy all these resources for all this stuff that I love, including comics and role playing games and whatnot. And she'd get mad at me or something, or get a note from a neighbor saying that she saw me doing some questionable things, and all of a sudden I didn't have those things anymore. So, like as a parent, I mean, you have the ability basically to control that type of situation. So, do we monitor ourselves? Like, okay, for instance, we've talked about role playing games, but what about video games? So when we go in to GameStop or wherever, right, and or we're shopping online, the PS4 or whatever, PS5, and we see games and we see them, the ratings and whatnot. Do we ever question our own morality when we go through and pick that, or do we use that blanket like, hey,
it's not real.
It's not real. It's fantasy, right?
I
And
don't
if that's the case, then why do we have rating systems?
Right.
Especially if why don't we just have an E for everyone?
Right.
And instead of having all the other ones that we have going on.
I don't play Grand Theft Auto. I just don't. I'm 100% fine with like Elden Ring. I'll go kill things and D&D stuff like that. But like,
But
there's a point.
bitch.
But there's a point. Yeah, there's a point to it though. Like I'm on a there's in Grand Theft Auto. If I'm just driving around for no reason, picking up hookers and then running them over, like I'm just like, no. For some reason, that's a line. But I'm just like, no. There's just no point to this.
Yeah.
For me, it's how it feels to me.
So it's not the morality that has a problem for you. It's just the gameplay. There's no point.
There's-
Okay.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I just don't. It's something about Grand Theft Auto. The whole series
Right.
just turns me off.
So if it was like, I don't know,
If it was Skyrim Auto,
Skyrim, right? And there was a winch, and you ran her over with a cart, you'd be like, cool.
I'd be like, shouldn't have been in the road, right?
I'm on a quest. Woman, get out of the way.
Yeah, but picking them up, paying the money,
Here's
then
a
picking
comfort.
them out and running them over, like, come on.
Okay, so what about one of my favorites? What about God of War?
I never played God of War.
Okay. So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
obviously, and I'm sure Great Big Bear
Really?
knows exactly what
I
I'm
know
talking
exactly
about
where you're
here.
going.
Beautiful game.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very Norse mythology. If that does not create a conflict.
No, not for me. I would play it. The only reason I don't play God of War is because I played Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, and a lot of the systems that are happening in God of War, the mechanics and stuff, were kind of pioneered in that. So I don't play Assassin's Creed either because, like, I kind of feel like, yeah. But it's not. I don't have a problem with the mythology or anything like that.
Right. No, neither
No
do
issue
I.
with blood, guts, gore.
No.
I know Great Big Bear because you're on that BSBN. You're playing whatever they decide 30 minutes before the show airs.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it's
That's a no. I hear you in my ear. That's a no.
no.
But don't take it from her. I mean, she named her Snake Odin, so
Nice.
she loves. She's better at God of War than I am. So.
Well, I mean, you go
Well, she's better.
you go into the God of War, like she brought it up. The first one had an interactive sex Easter egg. Like you found the girls hidden in the cage, and they didn't show it, but it definitely made the sounds
went
and
from
the
there.
thumbs and oh yeah, absolutely.
That's why I played Duke Nukem because you go into the strip
Yeah.
club and see the
See,
16-bit.
Well, it looks
Did you
like
play Leisure Suit Larry?
movies.
After
Do you remember
watching
Leisure Suit Larry?
Yes.
Yeah, but I never
got.
got to like do anything good. Cool.
Man.
I always died. I'm horrible at video games. That's why I roleplay.
You're good at Minecraft. I watched you play some Minecraft.
Yeah.
You're good.
I'm good at creative mode Minecraft.
I wonder
Hello.
if you could create
Oh,
those same girls in Minecraft.
Yeah, I don't.
It'd be
Yeah,
like 16-bit.
Now we're talking about Tomb Raider again with like polygons.
yeah, polygons. That's why I've always loved Tomb Raider, and even like Uncharted stuff. But
yeah.
we're digressing. So
I'm
We
sorry.
are.
all right. So the really cool thing that I found today when I was doing my session 0 or session maybe
1.5 or something like that.
yeah, something like that, is that he has a remarkably interesting way of warning gamers as to what his content is. So, like session 0, I think you might have even mentioned it a little bit ago, but I really want to discuss why this is important. I think it's a fabulous idea, especially for what he does, and basically, if you're ever in a situation, Bear, like if you provide like all of the characters are pre-generated, and it's kind of just a one-shot, first come, first serve kind of thing. This is an excellent way to at least keep your players where they need to be. So what do you do exactly, Jason?
So first of all, I've got a consent to gaming sheet that has kind of like green light, red light, yellow light, and it's got all these various topics, and it says claustrophobia, green light, red light, yellow light, just whatever, and it ranges from all manner of social topics to physical horror, torture, whatever. And players can go through and check. This is fine. This is fine. Yellow light is generally what I mean when I say like I'm going to fade to black on this topic. And then red light is a hard stop. Don't even bring it up. And then when my sheet's filled out, like at ConCarolinas, it'll be completely filled out on my end. So it'll be like, this game is rated R. It's going to have these themes in it. And that way my players know.
Yeah, speaking of ConCarolinas,
Now that you mentioned it, great
Yeah.
segue.
yeah, great segue.
Great segue.
We are having our ConCarolinas event on June 3rd, 4th, and 5th coming up. And tickets are available right now. If you go to ConCarolinas.org and you go on the little badge icon thing and click on that, it'll take you right to the Eventbrite site. And you are able to put in a discount code of
CCtv 22.
Awesome.
right.
You get 25% off of your
25.
weekend pass. 25, yes, 25. 25 is 25. But yeah, definitely. That's great discount. We really want to see you guys there.
yes.
The Blue Skirt Boys will be there.
Awesome.
We'll be doing live streaming from CCtv down Narrow. We're gonna have a lot of stuff going on that weekend, so make sure you are there. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah, and we'll be doing our show live remote, and hopefully we'll get some special guests creeping by the old sound booth and get some awesome guests on there for you guys.
Walk around and shove a bike in people's faces.
There you go. That's awesome. What do you think?
After they consent, of course.
Consent to miking.
Can I shove a mic in your face?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Oh, I got you. You're not really asking me a question.
No,
right?
no.
No one's ever put me on the spot before.
No, never.
All right. So what's our next question?
Well, we segued in the middle of the consent forms, but Big Bear, have you ever come across that, or have you ever, had that happen, or been a part of that, or heard of that?
Had to sign one, or not sign one?
No, honestly, it's a great idea. I really love it. It's a great way to kind of put everybody on the same page, same level. You're making the expectations clear and defined, and that's brilliant. I absolutely love it.
I had never heard of it either, so and I think it's a great thing.
And it is different. Like if he, when he's running for friends and family, like you said, them.
Yeah.
You've got and in the times that I ran for friends and family, I know them. I know what I can push and what I can't.
Right.
But when you're running for people you don't know well, strangers or whatever, it helps for sure.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing that teaching aspect where you're introducing this stuff And should you introduce it in the wrong way, or should you surprise them with something that they're not comfortable with, you could have just turned somebody away that might have enjoyed it for the rest of their lives.
Right.
So, that's a great way to get it out there and to be like, listen, this is what this entails.
Mhm.
If it's not for you, guess what? This is not the only game that I can
Right.
run.
Yeah.
I've got
Absolutely.
other stuff that we can do.
Yep.
Seth right in the chat actually says that they filled one out on a horror one shot.
Yep.
They said they're good to set boundaries, and that's boundaries.
awesome.
That's a great word.
Mhm.
It is.
Like for last night's episode on Dates with Kinks, if you guys missed that one.
I totally missed that one.
Oh, look at me plugging stuff.
Look at
I'm
you.
good at this.
You're good at this thing.
I had just a little kink in the vampire game. It wasn't
That was good.
over the top.
That was
All
good.
right.
I
The
came
next
in, I
one
caught
will
the end
be.
of it.
Next game I run where you guys will be over the top. Just blow it out of the water.
Do you think atheists or agnostic people have any moral obligation to tailor make their game to fit, like the opposite of what you do?
Sure.
Like should they even, I mean, a lot of the times, I'm not saying that they wouldn't care.
Sure.
Because they're still,
Humans.
part of humanity.
Yeah.
But so should they care? I mean, should they?
I think everyone who responsibly runs a game should.
Right.
Yes. I mean, if I was an atheist or an agnostic, I would still use consent forms and run a game in a way that not only promotes people wanting to play with me because I love storytelling, but also, like Ray said, helps them get into a hobby that they might love for the rest of their lives.
Right.
The only difference between my perspective and somebody who is not a believer's perspective is that I believe that everybody on the planet is made in God's image. And because of that, they deserve love and respect and grace and mercy. So that's my job, is to show them that, whether I'm running a game for them or whether I'm having a conversation with them about my faith or whatever.
Yeah.
My job is to treat everybody with respect and love because they're made in God's image.
Right. Now, call me like a skeptic,
Okay.
for instance. But the people
skeptic.
that I have
Well done.
that I have known throughout my life that have been on the religious side of things, whether they were Jehovah's Witness or they were Catholic or Presbyterian or what have you, they all had their own like line in the sand belief, and there's no gray area. They would consider everything that we do like an abomination.
Right.
And I went through, and I think when we were talking about this a little bit the other day, I went through the whole like Tipper Gore thing where they were trying to do the ratings on records,
right,
and trying to get everyone to not listen to
Twisted Sister.
Molly Crew, like Twisted Sister, yeah.
They're cross dressers, or
right.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so there those people that are like the hardcore. I mean, not necessarily fanatical about it, but they are like staunch in their beliefs or stoic in their beliefs about what they think is right and wrong. And they would be hard pressed to think that even the very, I would say it was mostly PG-13 with the exception of my 52 F-bombs.
You made the game rated R.
Right. They would be hard pressed to sign off on that game. So where does that leave us as far as how do we convey the message that we have in like, okay, yeah, we're taking extra steps to make sure that people have an understanding of where this game is going to go, and if they don't feel comfortable about it. But I know as, say, a 16-year-old son of a Jehovah's Witness, they'd be like, I got no problems with this, because they're not doing the responsible thing that their parents would want them to do, but they're going, I have no problems with this at all. So how do you? I mean, it's obviously just a matter of trusting someone if they say that kind of thing.
Sure. I mean, and again, I think as a DM and a storyteller, you've got to be able to read your room and know, like, so like my son has played a little bit. He's played a lot of D&D Pathfinder, but as he's gotten into be about 16, 15, he's been like, can I try vampire? And I'm like, yes, but I'm gonna run it and I'm gonna, kind of tailor it. So there are things that I kind of hedge out, and things like that. But I'm the parent, like you said,
Right.
earlier.
So you're fade to black a lot.
Yeah, I fade to black a lot. I think it's about, like you said, Bear, reading the room and knowing, look, this game is not for this person, and being able to tell them that. And I have hard in my, what Scripture tells me is wrong, I believe is wrong. But when we're talking about in this game, which is like Ray said earlier, is fantasy,
Wasn't porn?
I'm not. Yeah. That's for me. That's completely different. So that's where we get back to like, well, if this is something that is
Personal
troubling
point
you,
of view, right.
like, so for me, I've got to stay away from that. That's not something I can. That's a hard fate.
That's your hard no.
That's my hard no. Yeah, that would be my hard no. But you got to be able to know your players to a point where you can say, no, this isn't for you. Wait till I run a Marvel game, or wait till I run, something else.
Right.
So we've got somebody else, Sean in the chat, is saying that his parents subscribed to the D&D is evil idea, which was really popular in the 80s, which Bronner knows all about.
Hello, meet Bus.
You just said you did.
Undercarriage. Yeah.
We just talked about your mother. Okay. Big Bear, what about you? Did your parents have that same, like, D&D is evil, or were they more open to that?
My mom played D&D with me. She's the one that introduced me to D&D. So
That's where
no, she did not subscribe to that. But I have had friends that did, and they showed up to a game and wanted to play, and I'm fine with it. Like if you're feeling comfortable with it, exactly, yeah, and I've had them. They've asked, like, hey, I can't pick these deities. Okay, bring in your own god then. Bring me up something. Write me up a short thing of what deity you want, and they'll bring me something on Jesus. Okay, I'll work him into the game somehow. Not a problem. If it'll make you feel more comfortable as a player to give you a positive experience, absolutely. Which is why I love working in open campaigns and not doing the preset games. Is I can do that kind of stuff to help try to make it as positive as possible for the players, to make sure everybody is having a good time, because in the end, that is what it's about, is everybody's having fun.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. A thing that I would ask, like if I was in the situation where I was unsure if that person was being honest with me about, yeah, sure, he signed the consent form and whatnot, but maybe he was getting a little squirmy or whatnot, I'd be like, oh, do your parents let you watch TV? What do they let you watch? What kind of video games do you play? And then I would kind of judge it from there, maybe. Because, oh yeah, I played Grand Theft Auto, they'll love to talk about that kind of stuff. And if they do that, I'll be like, oh yeah, you're good. No sweat.
You're good. You're just a rookie.
But if you're only playing the Moses game from the Atari 2600, then maybe this is not the game.
Moses was in Altered Beast too, I think. I'm just pretty sure.
Yeah, definitely.
He had a list. No, he did.
He did.
Rise from your grave.
Rise from your grave. Wow, Altered Beast.
No one ever knows what I'm talking about.
I got you.
Oh, I love that game.
Oh, really?
Altered Beast is great.
Altered, yes.
All right.
We're bonding here.
We haven't even gone to the second section yet. All right. So, do other religions besides the Judeo-Christian type of religions, do their belief sets take issue with even vanilla games? I mean, are they so straight-laced that you can't play Dungeons and Dragons out of the red box?
No, I don't think so. In my experience, Judeo-Christian faiths tend to be more narrow.
A little more hardcore.
Yeah, I mean that's in scripture. It's a narrow path. But I think there are practicing people of other faiths who are saying no, this isn't right. At some point, I think it turns into how are you doing in your faith? Like, where are you in your faith? How mature you are in your faith, things like that. But I know personally for me, I've experienced the most pushback from the Judeo-Christian. I went to Amish Mennonite high school. So like I got there and I'm playing Vampire the Masquerade and I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I mean, they thought I was the Antichrist.
What does that mean, Amish?
Amish and Mennonite, they're very strict Christian. They don't, Weird Al does Amish Paradise, the parody.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I've heard Rum Spring. But I've never heard of like a Amish
Mennonite. They're closely related to each other. Yep.
It's like the Amish.
I mean, where is it? Is that in North Carolina?
No, it's in Sarasota, Florida. It was a good school, and you would drive down a main road in Sarasota, and then you would hit 2 or 3 blocks where it was just bam, Amish, and then you'd be on the other side of it, and you're back in
you're
1998 when I was there. But yeah, I got the most pushback from that. I got a lot of pushback in college from the Christian club that didn't want me to run a Vampire the Masquerade game because it was evil. And
they won.
They did win. Yeah, I didn't get the club and I didn't get to use a room at the school because they kind of took a text of the game out of context. And I wasn't there because I had to work. I wasn't there, so I couldn't put it in context, and that was that.
I think one of the biggest things, and probably when people think religion, that's what they think of. They think of that typical Judeo-Christian because it is one of the largest.
Mm-hmm.
It is very out there, and just based on the scriptures,
not necessarily very out there, but
it is
different degrees.
They tend to be the most outspoken. Absolutely. They definitely are pushy about their views.
Mm-hmm.
That's the household that I was raised in, and a lot of the scripture is about purity of mind, purity of body, and even associating yourself in a game. It's not okay.
Right.
So I think that's where a lot of that problem comes from, and you're drawing that line. But Sean had to experience that growing up. But what we're finding these days is that people are, I don't want to say finding themselves, but it's more about respecting each other than straight scripture. It's, that moral compass and making sure that, we're being decent human beings. It's not so much like, oh, you can't play a video game.
Right.
You just need to be a good person.
Right.
And that just seems to be kind of like the general guiding rule these days is just be a good person.
Yeah.
These are some rules to live by, and it's not so heavy as it was, like, let's say in the 80s.
Sure. Yeah. And I think it's definitely more known as far as gaming goes now. I mean, and Chris and I talked about it, just the other day. Like, I think the difference between what happened with Dee Snider and Tippa Gore and what happens with pushback against role-playing games from a religious standpoint is there hasn't been somebody who of decent level of understanding has pushed back publicly and said, no, you don't know what you're talking about. This is what this is about. And any issue you have with it is either in your own head or something that you need to work through and get help with and things like that. They just haven't. They're
crazy hoes.
That's just not happened really in gaming. It's always been individual little gamers. When there was a murder in Louisiana, that was connected to Vampire the Masquerade tangentially. Like, oh, this guy played this game, and it must be because of this game. There isn't somebody who's like, no, this is not what this is about. This is not. We don't go out and murder people.
Right. A lot of people actually spoke out that this is not typical behavior. I mean, that's
right.
This guy was psychotic.
Right.
And he was basically compared to being a cult leader.
Right.
So
Yeah.
where he brainwashed other kids to do stuff for him and that kind of stuff. There has been movies about that,
Sure.
that whole story.
But I think, as lifelong nerds, I think we're all used to a certain level of judgment.
Yeah.
From people that just don't understand.
Mhm.
There are those
Yeah.
people that you would love to just take them and be like, look,
Just
just look
shake
at
them
this.
violently.
And just be like, look, this is beautiful. This is wonderful. Because, when I go to a game, when I play a game, and, I see a Magic tournament,
Yep.
these are always some of the nicest, most respectful, most open, funny people. And
Oh yeah.
that level of judgment is just out there, but it's dwindling
Yeah.
quickly.
I think it is.
And that is the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
there's not that stigma anymore. Like when I was in school, like if you were in the D&D club, which if you could even have a D&D club was one thing, but if you were ever associated with the people that played D&D and the people that didn't, you were ostracized.
Yeah.
I mean, you were basically like the
Yeah.
scum of the school. And I'm looking at these people that I'm surrounding myself with. They're all amazing individuals. They all have a better GPA than all of the other people
Right.
that were failing or getting not having a C average to play sports.
Right.
I'm not calling jocks out jocks, but I played football too. But I'm just saying that we were just ostracized. So there was just so much negative stigma. Like nobody wanted to be seen going into the D&D store, especially by their friends. Or mom, drop me off here. I'll walk. That kind of stuff. It's crazy how much better it is for people today. In fact, dare I say that it's even cool now, especially when you get people like the people that are doing the show with
Matt Mercer.
no, the YouTube or the Twitch. It's the
had you not
Critical Role.
Yes.
Critical Role.
So, I mean, especially when all of that stuff is coming to life, and what's that guy's name? Joe Montanello or whatever his name is, the really buff, good-looking guy that happens to play D&D with all his other Hollywood friends.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, The Witcher, dude.
Yep. Henry Cavill.
Gaming PC.
Yeah.
Yep.
Educated
That's all I need to know.
that talk show host on the difference between Warcraft and Warhammer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love the fact that at least we are becoming so mainstream. And you know what? You got to thank like Marvel, and you got to thank all of those other like major corporations that kind of made it cool to be a nerd.
Yes.
They really did it for us. Video games did it for us. Comic books did it for us. All of those people will still kind of have a little bit of the negative connotation for role playing, unless it's the
For now.
I got a dungeon.
Hey.
I got a red room. I don't think that's what you mean.
But I mean that's true, right?
Yeah, it's gotten a lot.
Still here.
A lot better.
Can't get rid of me that
Yeah,
easy.
so celebrities have helped out role playing games a lot with the doing the shows and everything like that. Sorry. But I mean it's becoming a more widely known and hey, this isn't what we were told it was when we were kids type of thing.
Right. Well, they probably played when they were kids.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just going, hey, that's why I became an actor or how I became an actor.
Right.
So,
or even
you want to be an
remembering how
actor,
they
role
felt
play.
when they were ostracized, because a lot of these celebrities are of that age where they were playing in that same time frame. And they're now in a position where they can use that, I hate to say this, fame for good, but to allow people to enjoy something.
Help some people out,
They
right?
can put that message out there.
See, and in my school, we weren't allowed to have the club either, but that didn't stop us. We would just play at lunch. We'd find the back corner, and we were ostracized. Like nobody wanted to sit within tables lengths of us while we were playing. But we didn't care. Like we were having fun with our friends, and the people who had problems with it just stayed away from us.
You know, and
And that was
that's
good
a
enough for us.
beautiful point, Bear. I mean, they have like growing up, like the camaraderie that
Mhm.
you had with your group was so special that whatever the noise that they were making around you didn't matter at all.
Mhm.
You know, you had your best friends. I mean, it was basically Stranger Things. I mean, if you think about it, right? I grew up
Absolutely.
Stranger Things. I relate to 1,000%. So
Hmm.
I can't tell you the relationships. I mean, I played with people in Europe. I played with people in Britain, Ireland, Northern Ireland. I have friends who live not far from here in Salisbury. Still, we all game together on Discord and things like that. I mean, the relationships that I've made through gaming are just fabulous. So I mean, yeah, it's a hobby that I love and that I think more people would benefit from um, when it's done well and it's done right and it's just a blast.
right,
So,
or especially if it takes you somewhere, you
yeah.
know that you can't go yourself. I'm privileged enough to have my wife, um, you know, love it too. So
That's
I get
awesome.
to game with her. So there's nothing better than that.
My wife did when we were dating, but then we got married and she did it a little bit more, but now she doesn't game with me anymore.
Yeah,
She's busy though. My wife
Life.
works like
Yeah.
crazy.
That's
She's
my biggest problem.
exhausted when she comes home and she just doesn't, we just now we just kind of veg. But hopefully if she's watching,
Play games with
play,
him.
play games with him.
Come on.
No,
That's my
but
biggest
she's
problem.
always been super supportive, and my wife knows. She's like, "Look, you need to run a game because you're kind of getting spaced out. If I'm not running something, she's definitely encouraging me."
I found
Oh
gaming
yeah.
late in life, but I was by no means not a nerd before that. I was one of the jocks halfway through high school, blew out my knee, and then ended up doing theater with my best friend.
Awesome.
We did not have where I grew up a lot of the gaming, but the theater nerds were looked at exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it was just ostracized, and we didn't care.
Band nerds, theater nerds, D&D nerds.
Yep.
And
That's
it's a beautiful thing when nerds can band together, and they're always some of the best people.
Yeah.
They were.
I'll tell you now.
The respect that's there is
Mhm.
the respect for just people in general.
Yeah.
And whether that comes from a religious sense, as far as believing that everybody's God's creature, or whether it comes from
Mhm.
morality, like I just respect you because you're a person, you deserve that respect.
Mhm.
That respect is there.
Yeah.
And that is why I gravitate towards it.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, someone said in the chat, I
Mm.
can't read her name from here, but they said
Cetra.
that their GM was on the football team, so
Yeah.
that was pretty
Oh, that
cool.
would have been awesome.
Just think of
Yeah.
how much more respect would have been on the game name or the nerd name if we had been able to cross that or
Oh.
breach that
But
bridge
was
that
it
gap.
Yeah.
open, or did they do it in secret, Cetra?
Yeah.
Were they a
Yeah.
closet?
Were they a
nerd or
closet
were they
gamer?
open? I have to know.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait
Were
for
they
them
in
to
the
pop up.
closet?
Yeah. We're gonna pause this until we hear back.
We're gonna hold, please.
Yep.
Please
Wait
call
on
your old GM and find out.
All right, so my little title here is kind of like fuck it, let them play,
Mhm.
But
There goes the rated
Yeah.
R. We're rated R now.
Now say fuck.
Sorry, guys. But just
My
kind of go
delicate little ears.
Before you continue,
Yeah.
they had an official club and they played in the library, so it wasn't subtle.
Oh.
Whoa,
Must be
wow.
younger
Okay.
than me.
Good for him.
So
Don't ask the age.
we don't judge.
Was he
but
the
I'm just
quarterback or was he like third string and he really didn't get to play?
Didn't play because he was.
saying. And we're all looking at it like, "Yeah, you guys are playing the open."
Yeah, it's it's like you're at the game shop and you see someone who's attractive and you're like, get out of my store.
Right, I bring her to D&D.
Get out of my stuff. Do people like turn and like look like
They
Who's
lose
that?
their
Pay
damn
attention.
mind.
He would know better than I do. I'm
They lose their
so.
like. There's a hot chick,
there's some
right? Can't even speak.
It's
now.
how he wins. I'm
Man.
the distraction. I'm just kidding.
Works
If
for
he wants to win
poker.
it, yeah.
Works for poker.
Man, that's awesome.
He's playing Magic. He's like, they get in there.
Wow.
It's a tournament.
You got to pull out all the stops.
Sweeps, It's like I play dirty for money.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yep.
I'm being pimped out for Magic tournament.
Oh.
Oh, I've had
Sure.
I've had one of my
It's a
good
whole
friends
messy
whispering
turn.
in my
I
ear.
think the biggest
tell me-
message, and Greg there, I think you're on the same page. It's just,
Yeah.
you know what? Be responsible, respectful adults. Pay attention to the people that are playing with you. Pay attention to, their body language,
Exactly.
eye movements.
Yeah.
Tailor your game to meet your audience.
Yeah.
Right.
And then incorporate the stuff that works, man.
Yeah. There's no harm in introducing stuff that's, quote unquote vanilla,
Right.
just
Right.
because it doesn't.
And there's stuff in like vampire religions wise. They just released a new book called Forsaken Religions for 5th edition, and it's got all kinds of stuff about Lilith and things like that, and that's so good to put in there.
Okay, because I am the rookie, you guys probably know that I don't know. Are there any religious games?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, there's one that keeps popping on my Facebook feed that's about like a board game about like slaying demons and things like
But
that.
as far as like a D&D campaign,
Mhm,
that
yep.
style,
I have
RPG.
I have an old one at my house. I'll bring it to ConCarolinas and show it to you.
Okay.
You
I would.
you
love
would
to see that
memorize
as well.
scripture. You would memorize scripture as your spell, basically, and then you would say that,
Oh,
and
wow.
that would be your spell or something like that. I'll bring
Very
it's on cards and stuff like
I-
that. Yeah,
I would love to see that at con. Yeah.
I'll bring it.
You're
Well,
coming, right,
at
Ben?
the tone of time
Oh,
we'll
I'll be there. Absolutely,
Oh,
I'll be
you
there.
better be there.
9:07.
I plan on it.
So this show has unfortunately come to a close once again.
Oh.
And once again, I would just like to tell you that, okay, as long as you guys go, because I tell you what, all right, you go ahead. I'll be right back.
I got. He just like drops his mic. Peace,
No,
bitches.
I'll come back.
Peace out.
I couldn't do anything because
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, he said he's coming back. He is. He
You
is.
can check on the dogs and water the lawn.
Well,
water go on.
Usually it's me that has to, but no, it's okay. So,
That's
Big Bear,
great.
are you gaming at the
Am I
con?
what?
Or do you have like what's your plans for the con?
So I'll be. I'm gonna be doing a cat made gang beast. With it's gonna be me, Nev, John, and All Hope and Jay. So we
Okay.
will be rotating out and doing some of that. I'll be doing mostly a lot of gaming, and then wherever I'm needed to help out, I'll help out. So
All right.
I'm excited. It's actually my first big con. So
Really?
awesome.
yes, yeah.
That's
Like
awesome.
attending and working, like
Yeah.
completely.
That's great.
He's good.
Don't
Love
do
it.
that. Not my ear. Don't do that. Are you gonna be there, Jason?
I am going to be there. I'm going to be helping out. I think my wife and I are going to be doing registration, stuff like
That's
that.
right. We're gonna be working together.
Are we?
We will be working
Oh,
together. I'll be
that's
in
awesome.
registration. So for those of you out there in the CCtv world, make sure that you come to the con so that you can see me and we can chit chat because I love to talk. I don't get a whole lot of opportunity because he takes up
He
most
talks
of the
a lot.
oxygen in the room. Just kidding. Don't tell me I said that.
Well, and
No,
I mean,
I love that guy. But you can definitely come see me. And when you do, make sure that you use that discount code CCTV22 to get your discount on your badges June 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Mark your calendar. Make sure you get the hotel because you're
Yeah.
going to want to be there from sunup to well past sundown.
sundown.
We have a lot planned, a lot going on. Charlotte Gamers Network is going to be hosting the Friday night party. So that is going to be amazing. They also, for those of you that are big gamers, have consoles. They're going to have like a whole room full of gaming consoles. They'll have
Cool.
lots of games available. So they are definitely nerd friendly. It's going to be a great time. So you don't want to miss that.
Awesome.
Oh, look who's back.
Yeah.
Oh, sure alive.
Hey, welcome back.
I'll plug. I'm going to run Vampire this year. I ran Ravenloft last year, so I want to run the same vampire game I ran for you guys. I might spice it up a little bit more, but we'll see.
Right. So if you're interested in
I did that.
running some stuff,
Oh no, I didn't do that part.
thought so.
I didn't do that part.
If you're interested in running some stuff, if you head over to ConCarolinas.org and you click on one of the tabs, it'll take you to the link where you can sign up to like GM a game and
Oh wow.
or multiple games, and you can do that in exchange for some reduction in cost of a badge too. So there's a little trade-off. You come work for us, we'll take care of you, kind of thing.
Quid pro quo. please.
Crustacean.
So and also another announcement I have is that next week, starting next week, we're going to be giving at least one con badge away, a weekend badge, mind you, away for the next, I think it's like 6 more episodes that we have until the con. So yeah, that can be fun. So we're not going to give you 2. Yeah, we're not going to give you 2. So tell your friends, and that way you can keep the badge and make them buy theirs.
I mean,
Or
don't
split
forget,
it or whatever.
If you've already bought your badge, you know, that could be a friend. Bring a friend, bring a date, bring your mom.
Bring your mom. If your mom's into it, get her into it.
We just want to expose this convention to everybody possible. It's in the Charlotte area. Don't forget that. And, you know, the badges are very, very economical, especially with all that you get. Not only do you get all of the guest tracks, I mean, we're going to have well over 100 special guests. And that means they're, you know, either guest authors or speakers for the panels and all kinds of different little things. So over 100 guests. Yeah, and we have the Don Darrow streams and the Blue Skirt Boys Network there. ConCarolinas
Come see
TV
me.
will be there.
Yes, look
The
at that
Great
face
Big Bear
there.
will
How
be
could you
there,
not come
or-
see you?
I will absolutely, yeah. I'll be. Come say hi. I will say hi to everybody. I am not shy.
Are you wearing a costume?
So I will be doing like I was telling them, the cat maid. I got to get my cat maid dress ordered still. I wanted to do another one, but I don't want to announce it unless I can actually get a hold of everything for it.
All right.
But
there is
other
a
than that,
costume
like
contest.
I will be in my kilt, and I wear
Nice.
one every week. So
Is it a kilt or a skirt?
long. It's a kilt. No, it's a kilt. I've
You know the
got 3.
difference.
So, oh yes.
All right.
Awesome.
Shvetty Bolts.
Betty.
Shvetty, very Shvetty.
It's in June.
Not-
so it's
Oh
gonna be-
God!
kilt.
In June in
Not a
Charlotte.
kilt.
It's
As a girl that wears dresses a lot, just fan yourself. Just kind of poof it out
Yeah.
a little bit, you know.
But we're
Find-
really
find the floor
excited.
vent. Find
We're
the floor
really
vent.
excited about this
Wow.
year's content. We're really excited
I
about
kinda wanna see
the online content, the digital streams, and even the virtual stuff that we'll be
That is
still doing this year.
Probably one of
via
the best things
Don
that we're going to do. Don Darrow is actually going to provide those streams. So if you're not able to make it, if you're too far away, or due to
in another
restrictions,
state.
just if you're not comfortable being around that many people, you are fully able to catch all aspects of it.
Almost all the programming will be
Yes.
broadcast. So
All the programming will be broadcast, and you will be able to watch it after the fact. It's not something that you
right,
have
on
to watch
demand.
it
Yeah,
that day.
for sure.
So you are more than welcome to attend in any way that fits you. But we would be much more excited if you could come visit us.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
So I think it's been an amazing panel. Really appreciate you being here, Bear.
It's good to meet you, Bear.
Look forward to all of the Blue Skirt Boys shenanigans networks.
It's got to be more
Shenanigans
than
is a good word for it.
It is, but you can't steal that from Mika. So Don't do
Oh
that.
no, absolutely not.
Yeah, there's got to be a better descriptor.
We're gonna get a better word for you guys than all of your
Then
brouhaha.
Oh, there you
A
go.
lot of brouhaha.
Brouhaha. I love there we go.
Your shenanigans.
No, brouhaha.
Brouhaha is a good one.
BSBN
All of
brouhaha.
I like shenanigans.
Is good.
We cannot
Yeah, you
say
can't
that on
say
CCtv.
fuckery.
Can't say fuckery?
No, there's no fuckery.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you can't say fuckery.
Yeah, you don't do
But
anything.
anyway,
What the fuckery is this world? I'm joking. I'm
on
fired
that
now.
note, Jason, great having you.
Thanks a lot for having me, guys. This has been
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Love
Very
you guys
great
for
to meet
being
you.
here. Thank you for tuning in,
Absolutely.
and we will see you next time.
All right. Peace and love, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.